Good evening. Welcome to Meetings with Our Community.
Hi, everybody. Sunday is International Women's Day, a day to celebrate remarkable women and girls worldwide, and to rededicate ourselves to defending the fundamental rights and dignity of all people. That's why this week Michelle and I launched a new initiative on a topic that's close to both our hearts: girls' education. It's called Let Girls Learn, and its goal is to help more girls around the world go to school and stay in school. Right now, 62 million girls who should be in school are not. And that's not an accident. It's the direct result of barriers, large and small, that stand in the way of girls who want to learn. Maybe their families can't afford the school fees. Maybe the risk of being hurt or kidnapped or even killed by men who will do anything to stop girls from learning is just too great. Or maybe they aren't in school because they're expected to get married and become mothers while they're still teenagers or even earlier. In too many parts of the world, girls are still valued more for their bodies than for their minds. That's just plain wrong, and we all have to do more to stop it. That's the idea behind Let Girls Learn. We're making it clear to any country that's our partner or that wants to be our partner that they need to get serious about increasing the number of girls in school. Our diplomats and development experts are already hard at work. Our Peace Corps volunteers will play a big role too, and we're putting our partnerships with NGOs, businesses, and foundations to work on behalf of girls everywhere. I come to this issue as the leader of the world's largest economy and commander-in-chief of the world's most powerful military, and I am convinced that a world in which girls are educated is a safer, more stable, more prosperous place. When girls are educated, their future children are healthier and better nourished. Their future wages increase, which in turn strengthens their family's security. National growth gets a boost too, and places where women and girls are treated as full and equal citizens tend to be more stable and more democratic. I also come to this issue as the father of two wonderful young women. And I know that there are lots of girls, just like Millie and Sasha out there, girls who are funny and caring and inquisitive and strong and have so much to offer the world. It's a privilege to be the parent of girls. And we want to make sure that no girl out there is denied her chance to learn, that no girl is prevented from making her unique contributions to the world. Because every girl deserves our respect, and every girl deserves an education. Thanks, and have a great weekend.
I started the day with the wife of the Prime Minister of Japan, Mrs. Abe, where we talked about our launch of Let Girls Learn, an initiative to do more to encourage girls around the world to go to school and stay in school. And we announced this phenomenal partnership with Japan, where our countries are increasing our focus and investment in girls' education worldwide. Following the announcement, we had an amazing discussion with a group of young girls who were in high school and in college, and they asked me and Mrs. Abe a set of questions. But one of the things that struck me, several of the girls were really concerned about how to convince their families that their education was important. How do they have those conversations with their families? How do they change those cultural norms that make it harder for them to stay in school and follow their education? So what we hope to do through Let Girls Learn is work in partnership with the Peace Corps, working with Peace Corps volunteers on the ground to start working to change some of those beliefs by developing mentorship programs and working side by side with leaders and community groups and with the girls themselves. Once again, we are finding more and more ways to expand the bond between our two countries, and girls' education is on the top of our agendas. Today we traveled from Tokyo to Kyoto. Kyoto is one of the most beautiful and historic cities in all of Japan. For almost 1,000 years, it was the imperial capital of the country. Kyoto maintains a deep connection to its ancient cultural roots, and that was the focus of my visit today. First, I visited the Kiyomizu-dera Temple, which is perched on the side of a mountain and has two signature features: a beautiful waterfall that's said to bring good health and success if you drink from it, and a stunning veranda or porch that extends out beyond the mountain. Next, I traveled to the Fushimi Inari Shrine. It's simply breathtaking. Its most famous feature is the long pathway up the mountain that's lined with thousands of beautiful red gates. The path leads to hundreds of other smaller shrines on the mountainside.
This winter, experience something new in New York State. From the exciting slopes of Catamount to the soothing spa at the Gideon Putnam Resort, to hours of fun exploring the Strong, the nation's museum of play. You can find something for everyone with the I Love New York app. So plan your winter getaway at iloveny.com/winter or with the I Love New York app and see what's next.
But the Irish did more than just build America. They helped to sharpen the idea of America. The notion that no matter who you are, where you come from, what your last name is, in this country you can make it. And today we revel in that idea. We remember the great Irish Americans of the past, those who struggled in obscurity, those who rose to the highest levels of politics and business and the arts. We celebrate the ideals at the heart of the Irish American story, ones that people everywhere can embrace: friendship and family and hard work and humility, fairness and dignity, and the persistent belief that tomorrow will be better than today. We had a chance to discuss the challenges in the Middle East and the importance of stemming the flow of foreign fighters, both to Ireland and to the United States and the rest of Europe, and increasing and deepening cooperation in counterterrorism and countering foreign fighter flows. We very much appreciate the cooperation that's been provided there. As usual, the biggest challenge that I have when I meet with a Taoiseach is finding something we disagree on. It's very hard because we're great partners and he's a great friend. We look forward to welcoming everybody to the White House for some St. Patrick's Day cheer later this evening. We're going to be going over to Congress for some friendship and fellowship on a bipartisan basis. I should mention that I was hoping for a little luck of the Irish as the Republicans put forward their budget today. Unfortunately, what we're seeing right now is a failure to invest in education and infrastructure and research and national defense, all the things that we need to grow, to create jobs, to stay at the forefront of innovation, and to keep our country safe. It's not a budget that reflects the future. It's not a budget that reflects growth. It's not a budget that is going to help ensure that middle-class families are able to maintain security and stability, and that people who are trying to get into the middle class will have the rungs on the ladder to get into the middle class. I'm going to be talking more about this tomorrow. We're going to have a robust debate, and my hope is that ultimately we can find some compromises where together we are financing the education, the research, the training, the building of roads and bridges and ports and railways and all the things that we need to grow and put people back to work and make sure that the incredible momentum that our economy's built over the last several years continues well into the future and for future generations. So.
Hey, I'm John Leguizamo, and I love New York. Why? I'll tell you why, because every winter my favorite thing to do is ski upstate. In New York, you can ski more and drive less. With over 50 ski resorts throughout the state, great skiing is always nearby. And with some of the highest snowfall in the U.S., it's always a perfect day on the slopes. Day or night, green circle or black diamond, for the experts like me, there's something for everyone. So plan your next New York ski trip at iloveny.com/winter.
20th, 2015, the shadow of the moon will cross the surface of the Earth and create a total solar eclipse. By calculating the position of the Earth and the Sun on this date, we can produce several visualizations of the shadow. First, we have the moon's orbit leading up to the eclipse. Here, the Earth, moon, shadows, and orbit are all to scale. Now, what will the solar eclipse look like from space? From well beyond the moon's far side, the shadow appears circular. Viewed from above the location on Earth where maximum eclipse will occur, the shadow would appear elongated. It hits the Earth near a point south of Greenland and departs very near the North Pole. The central black dot you see is the umbra, where the Sun is completely covered by the moon. The fainter, much larger shadow is the penumbra, where the Sun is only partially obscured. The Faroe Islands of Denmark and the Svalbard Islands off Norway are in the path of the umbra, while the penumbra covers all of Europe and extends to North Africa and Russia. Back in May 2012, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter turned its camera away from the moon and toward Earth, capturing this stunning image of the moon's shadow during the annular eclipse. So, no matter where we view them from, solar eclipses are a dramatic spectacle made possible by the shadow of the moon.
I'm a New Yorker, and this is my card.
I use it to visit my son's school.
To get cheap movie tickets.
To get museum memberships.
To open my first checking account. To get discounts with the Parks Department.
ID NYC is the photo ID for all New Yorkers, regardless of immigration status. If you live in New York City, go get one. It's free, it's easy, and it's available now.
8 million New Yorkers, one card for all of us.
Sometimes what I was doing seemed almost impossible. It would have been easy to just listen to my own thoughts, just to give up. Why did I have to study so much? Or how tired I was and go to sleep and not even bother. But I would not let my thinking become my obstacle. I told myself that I had to do better, that I had to take time to study, that I had to do my homework, even if I didn't get much sleep. It was important to me to get good grades. I knew I didn't want the kind of life that I saw wearing my mother down, a dream of escaping the poverty and pain. I wanted to do something different when I grew up. The dream that began taking shape in me became my escape from the only world that I knew. Sometimes we remember exactly where we were and what we were doing during a significant historical event. Well, July 20th, 1969 was one such event for me. I was 7 years old. I wanted to watch the first human walk on the moon. We did not have a television at home, so we went to a neighbor's house. All of the kids were clustered around a small black and white television. There were many people in the room. Some were lying on the floor, while others were standing behind the sofa. We watched in total silence. You could hear a pin drop in that room. We were in awe when we saw an American named Neil Armstrong placed his foot on the surface of the moon for the first time. The TV crackled out these words: "One small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind." This really was a giant leap. I walked home that night and looked at the moon so far away, and I knew then that I wanted to be part of that adventure. I would be lying if I said that I knew what NASA was at that moment. However, I knew that I wanted to work in space.
I wanted to be able to go to the moon someday. So I remember saying to my mother, I want to do that someday, Mom. And Mom could have said so many things that would have deterred me at that point. But what she said set in motion my determination to become who I am today. She said, Sandra, you never know. Just work hard for what you want. The world goes around and around, and you never know what opportunities are going to present themselves, and you have to be ready to get them. The world did go round and round, and our problems continue. During this time, I realized that I had to take ownership of my actions. My success was up to me. It was not my mother's or my teacher's responsibility to make me succeed. It was my responsibility. I saw how hard my mother worked just to survive, and I tried to learn by her experiences. That became my goal, not to repeat history, and of course to go to the moon. When I was 12 years old, we lost our house, and we started moving from place to place. Mom would rent a room here and there, but we had to move frequently. I was determined to graduate from high school and to go to college. I tried to always find people who would elevate me and not to get it with the wrong crowds. And it allowed me to take all these baby steps that I needed towards my very lofty goal to go to the moon someday. I wanted to do things differently. I was always remembering in the back of my head what my mother used to tell me, do not repeat history, so I wanted to do things very, very differently. I talked to my teachers and other people who would give me good advice and ideas. I tried to recognize all the bad ideas and separate myself from all of those people who always tried to give you bad advice. I continued to nurture the dream of space travel in my mind and in my heart, and it was still pulling me forward. One of my intermediate goals was to become an electrical engineer. When I was accepted at the University of Costa Rica, the counselor said that I could not study electrical engineering because I was a woman. He recommended that I studied industrial engineering instead because that was the ladylike engineering. I spent 3.5 years studying industrial engineering at the University of Costa Rica. Well, I definitely admit that at that point in my life, I underestimated my own abilities. I knew that I was capable, but I didn't feel like I was assertive enough. It did not cross my mind to assert myself and insisted that I really wanted to study electrical engineering rather than industrial. I decided to change majors. I figured at that point it wouldn't hurt. I finally decided to study what I've always wanted to study, which was electrical engineering. I became a transfer student, and out of the many credits that I had at the University of Costa Rica, only 31 were recognized. So I had to start pretty much all over again. There were many, many challenges in front of me still. I spoke almost no English. I only had the English that I knew from high school. So it was very hard for me. It took me 3.5 more years to get my degrees. At that point, I was on the 7-year plan to graduation. I finally graduated with a double major in electrical engineering and physics. After graduation, I went to a job fair, which led to an interview. I never forget being offered the job on the spot. I had overcome so many obstacles, and I was given a wonderful opportunity to work at Goddard as a contractor. 3 years later, I was hired by the agency. I finally became a full-fledged civil servant. And the reason this happened was because during my 3 years as a contractor, I worked on many optical systems, working with scientists hand by hand, and I was noticed. And when I put the resume to become a civil servant, they gave me the job. And I was so happy that finally, after all of the years and after all of the challenges, I finally became a NASA employee. I have been working for NASA now for 23.5 years as a full-fledged civil servant. Working at NASA has enabled me to design and test hardware, work side by side with talented scientists, and design new missions for space exploration. I work with so many amazing people who think of things nobody has ever done before, and they inspire me so much every day. Our work isn't easy, it's very, very hard, and I really love it. My dream, as you have heard, was very, very lofty and perhaps a bit unrealistic. My path was very difficult, and at any moment I could have given up. But I made a conscious choice to move towards a different life for myself. I made deliberate decisions that put me in unfamiliar situations. Many of the experiences I sought out were not only new, but they were very, very scary. I didn't know if I would achieve my goal, but I didn't allow myself to be overcome by doubts of negative thinking. I was very determined to change my behavior so I didn't have to repeat the past and repeat history. So continue to bring new thoughts, ideas, and perceptions into your life, and get to know different people with different perspectives, different occupations, cultures, religion. The bottom line is that with perseverance and staying true to my dream in life, I was able to achieve what many people thought I should not even consider. Life is never easy, but the circumstances of your birth should not dictate the kind of person that you can become. You have control of your destiny. So set lofty goals with intermediate goals along the way. While you may never achieve your lofty goal, in an effort to reach it, you will always go very, very far. If you reach far enough, you may yet accomplish your dreams. When I was 7 years old, I wanted to go to the moon. Look where I am today. I have landed among the stars.
If you are interested in becoming a U.S. citizen, you must meet several requirements. Depending on your situation, there are different requirements that may apply to you, including the following. Be at least 18 years old at the time of filing your application. Be a permanent resident for at least 5 years. If you are married to a U.S. citizen, this requirement may change to 3 years. Have lived within the state or USCIS district with jurisdiction over the applicant's place of residence for at least 3 months prior to the date of filing the application. You will need to demonstrate continuous residence in the United States.
Continuous residence means that as a permanent resident, you have not left the United States for a long period of time. If you leave the United States for too long, you may interrupt your continuous residence.
Physical presence in the United States. You will also need to demonstrate physical presence in the United States. This means that you need to be physically present in the country for at least 30 months out of the 5 years preceding the date of filing your application. Other requirements include being able to read, write, and speak English and having a basic understanding of U.S. history and government. Some people who apply for naturalization may not have to meet the English requirement because of their age and the length of time they have lived in the United States as a permanent resident. In addition, you must demonstrate a knowledge and understanding of the fundamentals of the history and of the principles and form of government of the United States. Moral character.
You also need to be a person of good moral character in order to become a naturalized U.S. citizen. Committing certain crimes may cause you to be ineligible for naturalization.
Oath of allegiance. Finally, to become a U.S. citizen, you will have to take the oath of allegiance. All applicants for naturalization must be willing to support and defend the United States and our Constitution. In fact, it is not until you take the oath of allegiance that you actually become a U.S. citizen. Please note that you are required to reside in the United States while your application is pending. Remember, these are only general requirements. For more detailed information, contact U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, online or by phone at 1-800-375-5283. This video was produced by USA.gov in collaboration with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services.
Did you know that as of January 2015, it is illegal to throw away electronics? Electronics covered under the New York state law include household and office electronics, as well as entertainment and smaller electronics. New Yorkers have many free and convenient options to recycle working and non-working electronics, such as eCycle NYC, free drop-off at retail outlets across the city, community recycling events, and free mail-back recycling programs. Learn more at nyc.gov/electronics.
Thank you for watching Meetings with Our Community. We hope that you have enjoyed our show, and we hope to see you next week.